Can I tell you something that might sound insane, but is absolutely true? New research shows AI is now more effective at changing minds than actual humans, boosting agreement rates by up to 81%. Multiple studies, including one from Stanford, reveal that AI is outperforming people in debates, persuasive writing, and even expert-led conversations. Most people don't even realize it's happening. It doesn't need charisma, it doesn't need emotion, it doesn't even need a face, just data points and the right language patterns. Meanwhile, most business owners still treat AI like a content speed tool, pumping out more blogs and more emails and more posts. But they're missing the real edge. Psychologically persuasive messaging at scale. And if you understand how that works, you gain an unfair advantage. One you can use ethically to connect, convert, and communicate better than 99% of your competitors. That's why in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 psychological techniques that make AI more persuasive than people, reveal what the latest research actually shows, and show you how to use these insights in your business without sounding robotic or losing trust. So if you want to understand the psychology behind AI persuasion and how to use it without crossing ethical lines, stick around, because this is going to get interesting. So here's what most people get wrong about AI and marketing. They think it's all about speed, about efficiency, about churning out more content and doing it faster. Oh, cool, I can write 10 emails in the time it used to take me to write one. And I mean, sure, that is part of it, but that's not the game changer. The real shift, the thing that changes everything, is that AI doesn't just write faster. It also writes more persuasively. And not by accident. There are specific psychological mechanisms at play here that make AI content more influential than human written content. And here's the kicker. Most people have no idea this is even happening. Getting persuaded by AI every single day in their social media feeds, in marketing emails, in sales conversations, and they don't even realize it. Stanford researchers wanted to test this, so they ran an experiment. They had ChatGPT write propaganda, like actual propaganda. Then they compared it to propaganda written by human experts. The result is that the AI version was just as persuasive, and in some cases even more persuasive than the human version. But here's where it gets really interesting. When they added just a little bit of human oversight, someone to refine the prompts and edit the output and guide the narrative, the persuasiveness went through the roof. Think of AI like a Formula One race car. Incredible speed, precision engineering, but completely useless without a skilled driver behind the wheel. Well, you're the driver, and AI is the machine. On its own, it just kind of sits there, but together, you're a championship team, and the track is wide open. And this tells us something critical. AI plus human strategy is the formula. Not AI alone, not humans alone, the combination. And if you're not using this in your business right now, you're already behind. Now, I've spent the last decade not just studying marketing psychology and persuasion frameworks, but using them. Testing behavioral triggers and real campaigns, running offers, writing copy, seeing firsthand what actually moves people to act and what doesn't. And I've done this for some of the biggest companies in the world, including Google, Meta, Amazon, and thousands more. So when I first saw this research from Stanford and MapLab and the Human-Centered AI Institute, I'll be honest, I was pretty skeptical. But then I started testing it in my own business and with my clients and in real campaigns, and the results were undeniable. Higher open rates, better engagement, more conversions, and most importantly, people felt like the messages were actually made for them because, in a lot of cases, they were. So let's start with technique number 1, personalization at scale, because this is where AI's superpower really shines. Stanford's Media and Personality Lab ran a study with over 1,700 people. They tested personalized messages created by ChatGPT, messages tailored to someone's personality and values and political beliefs and moral foundations, and they tested these versus generic, non-personalized messages. Anyway, you can see where this is going, but the personalized AI messages were significantly more persuasive across the board, every single time. And here's the crazy part. The AI only needed a short prompt to do this. It didn't need deep psychographic data or months of research, just a basic understanding of the psychological dimension to the target. And by target, I mean person. Marketing's kind of cold sometimes. So why does this work? Well, it's because personalization creates relevance, and relevance creates trust, and trust creates action. When someone feels like a message was written specifically for them, like it understands their worldview, and it gets their pain points, and it understands their desires, well, they're exponentially more likely to engage with that message. Now, humans can do this too, obviously, but we can't do it at scale. We can't create 1,000 perfectly tailored messages in 10 minutes, but AI can. So let me make this practical for you. Let's say, for example, you're selling a marketing course. Well, here's how you'd use AI to personalize at scale. Step 1 would be to identify your psychological segments. Now, most businesses out there have 3 to 5 core buyer types based on what they value most. These are things like achievement for someone that wants to win or dominate or be the best. Things like security for someone that wants safety and predictability and risk reduction. There's of course belonging, where someone wants community and connection and validation, and growth, where someone wants learning and mastery and transformation. Now, you don't need fancy psychographic software. All you need to do is just ask, what are the 3 main reasons people buy from me? Step 2, give AI the framework. Here's the exact prompt structure that I use. I'm selling product/service. My audience includes people motivated by value 1, value 2, and value 3. Write 3 versions of this email subject line, each appealing to one of these motivations. Then just insert your current subject line there. Step 3, test and deploy. From there, you can segment your customers and your audience by how they found you, including paid ads versus organic versus referrals. You can segment by which page they visited first, or questions they asked in your intake form, their industry or role. Even a simple quiz like, what's your biggest marketing challenge, gives you enough data to personalize intelligently. Here's a real example though. Same marketing course, 3 subject lines from AI. For the achievement angle, we'd go with something like the 3 strategies top 1% marketers use to dominate their niche. For the security angle, build a marketing system that works even when algorithms change. And for the growth angle, master the psychology behind every successful marketing campaign. Same course, 3 different entry points. I wanted to see what would happen, so I tested it out in real life, and this is what I got. The achievement angle got a 38% open rate with agency owners. The security angle got 42% with small business owners, and the growth angle got 35% with solopreneurs. That's not manipulation. That's speaking to what people actually care about. And AI lets you do this for thousands of people simultaneously, matching your message to their worldview in seconds. And that's the edge. Technique number 2, remove the agenda. Here's something fascinating that multiple studies have confirmed. People perceive AI-generated messages as less biased, more informative, and less manipulative than human-written messages. Even when the message goes against something that they strongly believe, they're more open to it when it comes from AI. So, why is this the case? Well, it's because we know that humans have agendas. We know the salesperson wants our money. We know the politician wants our vote. We know the marketer wants our attention. And when all this happens, our defenses go up. We look for the angle. We assume that there's some kind of manipulation taking place. But AI, we think it's neutral. It's objective. It's data-driven. Now, obviously, that's not entirely true. AI is trained by humans and prompted by humans and reflects our natural biases, but the perception is there. And in Persuasion, perception is reality. This is why AI can slip past defenses that would stop a human cold. AI isn't outsmarting us. It's just sidestepping the emotional baggage that we associate with people. Technique number 3. Write with depth and emotion. So here's where the psychology gets really interesting. Researchers analyzed the actual language structure of AI-generated arguments versus human-generated arguments, and they found that the AI consistently created messages that felt more sophisticated, using richer language and deeper emotional framing. In other words, AI writes in a way that feels well-crafted and thoughtful and compelling. It uses more varied vocabulary, it structures arguments more clearly, it engages with moral and emotional language in a way that resonates deeply with readers. And we, as humans, well, we're hardwired to respond to that. When something feels well-written, we assume that it's also well-reasoned, and we equate eloquence with truth. Now, obviously, that's not always accurate, but it's how our brains work, and AI exploits that psychological shortcut, and it does it beautifully. The key here is that AI doesn't just throw random words at a problem. It constructs entire arguments that feel authoritative and balanced and compelling, even when the content is relatively simple. Technique number 4, persuade at the perfect moment. Humans get tired. We get distracted, we send messages at the wrong time because we're rushing or we completely forgot. Well, AI doesn't have that problem. It can wait for the perfect moment. It can send the right message at the right time to the right person, and it can do it with perfect consistency. And this matters more than most people realize. Persuasion isn't just about what you say. It's about when you say it. Someone might ignore your messages at 9 a.m. when they're stressed and busy, trying to get out the door, but that same message at 2 p.m. when they're taking a break and in a different mental state, well, suddenly that same message can resonate. Well, AI can optimize for that. It can analyze behavioral patterns and track engagement windows and deliver messages right when people are most receptive to them. Plus, it never gets emotional. It doesn't send a passive-aggressive follow-up because someone doesn't respond, and it doesn't burn out after the 47th outreach message. AI is relentless, strategic, perfectly consistent, and that consistency builds trust over time, which builds persuasion. Technique number 5, be open about the AI. Okay, so here's the most counterintuitive of all. Now, you'd probably assume that if people knew that a message was coming from AI, they would trust it less. But surprisingly, that's not what happens. Even when researchers disclosed the message was AI generated, it didn't significantly hurt persuasion. In fact, in some cases, transparency actually increased trust because it felt honest, like the business wasn't trying to hide anything. This one point completely flips the script on how we think about AI in business and sales and marketing. It means you don't have to pretend your AI-generated content is human-written. You can be transparent about it and still be wildly effective, often more effective. Why? Because persuasion isn't about deception. It's about relevance, clarity, and value. And if AI helps you deliver those things better, people don't care where it came from. They just care that it works for them. Now, before we get to more results of some of the tests I ran and whether or not this all actually works in the real world, I need to address something important. Everything I just showed you can be used for good or evil. It's not hyperbole. The same personalization that helps you connect with your ideal customer can also be used to manipulate and deceive and spread misinformation at scale. As we already discussed, the Stanford researchers found that AI-generated propaganda was just as effective as human-written propaganda. And just think about that for a second. These same tools we're discussing can be used and weaponized by bad actors and political objectives and scammers. So how to use this ethically? Well, here are 3 non-negotiable rules. Rule number 1, truth first. Use AI to communicate your message more effectively, not to fabricate claims or mislead people. Persuasion should amplify truth, not replace it. Rule number 2, respect autonomy. Personalization should help people make better decisions for themselves, not trick them into decisions that serve only you. If you wouldn't feel comfortable explaining your process to your customer, just don't do it. And rule number 3, transparency when appropriate. Now, you don't need to plaster AI generated on everything that you create here, but if someone asks, of course, be honest. And never use AI to impersonate real people or fabricate credentials. And here's what separates the professionals from the amateurs. The professionals understand that long-term trust always beats short-term manipulation. Always. If you're using these techniques to genuinely help people and solve real problems and create value, then you, my friend, are on the right side of this. If, on the other hand, you're using them to deceive or exaggerate or exploit people, you're not just going to lose customers, you're going to lose your reputation. So choose wisely. Now, you might be thinking, sure, this sounds great in theory, but does it actually work? Well, it's a fair question, so let me show you. I've been using AI-assisted messaging in my own marketing for the past 6 months. Not replacing my voice, not letting the machine take over, but using it strategically to personalize outreach and refine email sequences and test different psychological angles. And the results? Well, my email engagement rates went up by 34%. My click-through rates on call to actions increased by 22%. And my revenue increased by 15% the last quarter alone, all while I took more time off to travel, spend time with my family, and play with my kids more than ever before. Now, a big part of that was consolidating everything into High Level, which is the software that I use to run all of my sales and marketing, as it gives me one place to test AI personalized messages and track engagement and optimize automatically instead of having to juggle 10 different tools. So I could see what was working in real time and adjust fast. But I'm not the only one. I've worked with clients who've used AI to personalize their sales conversations, tailor their landing pages, and optimize their follow-up sequences. And across the board, the results are consistently better than traditional one-size-fits-all approaches. But here's the key. It's not just about using AI. It's about using it intelligently, with strategy, with ethics, and with human oversight. The businesses that are winning with AI persuasion aren't the ones just letting the machine run wild and do whatever it wants. They're the ones using AI as a tool to amplify their message and personalize their approach and scale what already works. So if you're wondering how to apply this in your own business, or you're curious what tools actually make it work, I've got you covered. I'll make sure to put a link in the descriptions below that'll give you access to my complete marketing system for free and an extended 30-day free trial to High Level, which is the software I use, so you can try it out for yourself. As I mentioned, High Level is the all-in-one platform I use in my business, and it's what I recommend to every serious entrepreneur that I work with, as they've got AI-powered tools built right in, so you don't have to duct tape together 10 different systems. So make sure to check that out in the descriptions below, and if you're looking for even more strategies, then make sure to check out the video that I've got linked up right here, as it's going to show you 10 dark psychology sales techniques that tap into the exact same triggers AI uses to influence behavior, but in a way that builds trust instead of breaking it. So feel free to tap or click that now, and I'll see you in there in just a second.